Hey, I'm Kate, and this is Barbell Therapy, the podcast, where we're giving power to vulnerability. We are going to help you lose weight and reach your goals, but we're going to show you that you're not alone in how you feel while you're doing that. Let's get vulnerable. Welcome back to today's episode of Barbell Therapy, where we are going to get vulnerable and talking about the holidays and how it kind of makes you feel inside of your own skin. Today, we're going to cover mindset around holiday food, some practical tips that you can actually practice to help you navigate that, along with the feeling of pressure from friends and family, and honestly, how you can increase movement, decrease stress, and celebrate some non-scale victories that will help you feel good throughout the holidays. Okay, when talking about the holidays, I want you to think about how do you want to feel through the holiday season leading into next year. It's your next chapter, right? Like, how do you want to start that off? Do you really want to feel continuously uncomfortable in your own skin, especially around your loved ones on holidays that are supposed to be filled with joy and happiness? If you don't want to feel that way, then this episode is definitely for you. Okay, so first we need to dive into mindset, right? We need to really tackle that all or nothing mindset and understand that that is one of the main reasons why you're not going to be able to feel good through the holiday season. You're thinking that just because you can't be perfect, just because you can't hit all your macros or be in a calorie deficit or eat your salads or whatever it is, you might as well not care about fitness and nutrition at all because you feel like you've been working out, you have to be working out, counting calories, or you get to just say, fuck it, throw in the towel and stuff your face. But the reality is, you can enjoy the holidays while still keeping your goals in mind. And I'm not meaning that you have to track your calories, at dinner, but you also don't just have to throw in the towel, stuff your face just because it's either I'm doing this 100% or I'm not doing it at all. You don't need to eat everything in sight or have second or third helpings of everything just because you aren't counting calories. And you don't need to not eat things if you're trying to be healthy, right? Like, you don't have to be like, no, I'm not going to have a second helping of, sweet potato casserole just because you want to lose weight, right? Because when you're out of that all or nothing mindset, you can have one or two servings, know when you're full, and have the freedom and flexibility to not feel like you have to stuff your face with it because you don't know when you're going to get the chance to do this again. So I know that a lot of people out there tell you that you can enjoy your holiday dinner without feeling guilty, and you can eat things that you want to eat without feeling guilty. But realistically, you need to know how to do that. So I want to go over some practical tips that's going to actually help you achieve this. So I want to preface this with, I am not the coach that's going to act like there's some magic secret. There isn't. Like, the first practical tip I need to give you is that consistency is key. When you're being diligent and consistent on all of the days or most of the days leading into the holidays, and that one meal that's like kind of off track, being able to like get right back into routine and step right back into, your everyday consistency is step one. Being able to be consistent before and then also after. And when we don't have an all or nothing mindset, that's a lot easier because we know that that one meal that we just had isn't necessarily throwing in the towel, right? It's just a meal and then we're just moving on. You also need to be a little bit mindful throughout the whole day, right? Typically when you're being really consistent and you're eating nutritious foods, things like that, eating a meal that's going to be really calorically dense or just pretty off for what you typically eat might make you feel just not so great. So being really mindful about how you're nourishing your body leading into that meal on that day of can be really critical, right? And again, this is not necessarily about counting calories, but making sure that we're having nutrient, fiber dense foods, making sure we're packing the day with protein and regulating blood sugar throughout the day in order to get through that holiday meal, right? So then that way we're setting ourselves up and our bodies up for success so that when we eat that meal, we're not going to feel like total trash afterwards. When we're eating leaner proteins and higher nutrient dense foods, we're going to inherently have a little bit less carbon fat intake throughout the beginning of the day so that when you do increase those carbs and fats towards the end of the day or whatever at that dinner, or whether it's a breakfast, lunch, dinner, whatever it is, when you're getting to that one meal, it's an overall balanced day because you're still having nutritional meals leading into it. We're not looking to stay under our calories or hit our macros perfectly, but we're just trying to fuel our body and set ourselves up for success, right? So having that balanced approach is going to give you that freedom that allows you to eat the things that you enjoy without feeling all of that guilt and feeling like you have to eat everything in sight because you just don't know when you're going to get there again. And along with that, I don't want you to skip meals just because you know you're going to have a lot of food at whatever meal that is. So we're just using holiday dinner as an example. So I don't want you to skip breakfast or lunch just anticipating that you're going to have a lot to eat at dinner, right? Because again, we want to make sure that we're balancing our blood sugar and having an overall balanced day. Just thinking about, a really balanced meal leading into it without skipping the meal, because again, that is what's going to send you into that spiral of like, oh my gosh, I need to eat everything and you don't. Okay, let's go back to our Aunt Betty who can't keep her mouth shut about what you're eating and how you look, right? Like this is also something that we need to combat, right? Is that family pressure, family or friends, and the pressure or the comments that they make around you, your food choices, and your overall appearance. It could be good or bad, but either way, those types of comments stick with you and they make you second guess whether you want to really care or not. But let's be honest, Aunt Betty's going to say something whether you choose to care or not, right? And if we don't know about Aunt Betty, go back and listen to the episode I released right before Thanksgiving. This is just extra practice because practice makes perfect, but we're just going to go over those key steps again on how to deal with this type of pressure coming from friends and family. So I feel like we've talked about this since, I don't know if this is a golden rule or whatever. I didn't speak English back when the golden rule was applicable in my sense. Remember, we need to teach people how to treat us. So we have to set boundaries and let people know that we're not looking to discuss certain topics. Like we don't need to talk about the food that I'm choosing to eat or my weight or things like that, unless it's coming from a place of joy or truly wanting to be educated on things or whatever. Like nobody needs to care about what food you're choosing, right? So we need to be able to set that boundary, and it's not comfortable to just outright be like, hey, I don't want to talk about that because Aunt Betty, who's just going to say whatever she wants, isn't going to listen probably to that in the first place. And so we just have to figure out how to change topics or maybe dismiss ourselves from the conversation politely. But whatever it is, we have to put ourselves into these uncomfortable situations in order to get the desired result out of them, right? Because that is the same thing that we're doing with fitness and nutrition. We're putting ourselves in these uncomfortable situations of a calorie deficit in order to lose weight, right? Up to this point, we've talked a lot about food, but I definitely want to still address how important exercise is for both your health and fitness goals, but also your mental health, right? So the holidays, while an incredibly joyful time, they also bring out a lot of stress at the end of the day. So we need to make sure that we are still able to exercise and move our bodies during these busy ass times without adding more stress and responsibility to our plate. So how do we manage all of the things that we have going on, all of these added responsibilities, but still being able to move our bodies? And I know what you're thinking. You have errands and travel and all these things, and you're not going to be near a gym, and you don't have weights at whose house that you're staying at or whatever it is. So it's just you're well, this is even not possible for me, but it is. And we're going to talk about how. Walking is an easy and free thing that you can do. Doesn't require a lot of time. You can do this while you're on a Zoom meeting. You can, especially if you don't have to participate or be in front of a camera or whatever, you can easily grab your phone, on the call or on video and go literally walk around the house. I'm not even asking you to go out in the cold, go walk around your house. That's something that's really easy that we can do. And it's free. You don't have to go find extra time to do it. You can just go do this in short bursts of time, 5 to 10 minutes throughout the day whenever you tend to have time. If you are doing errands, make sure you're parking at the back of the lot. I know that this seems insane, but I'm telling you, the time that it takes you to walk from the back of the lot to the front of the lot isn't going to add that much more time to your plate. We're always in this state of constant rush. And if we can take our times to settle down, we're obviously going to have less stress on ourselves, and that little bit of extra walking that you're doing can be that additional movement that you're getting for the day, right? It can be that make it or break it of that 500 extra steps that you need to hit that, 10,000 step goal or whatever you have. When you're having family over, or maybe you're at your parents' house or wherever you are for the holidays, do some extra cleaning. Instead of putting everything in the dishwasher, wash a couple things by hand. You can easily do some extra organizing while you're pulling things out to decorate or putting things away or whatever it is. Like, take the time to spend a little bit of extra time in that closet, moving around and reorganizing things or whatever it is. Don't take something and just put it somewhere and then move on and then have to come back later and feel like, you didn't complete a job or whatever. So then that way you're overwhelming yourself later. Just finish the task now. These are really easy ways that we can add movement while we're like getting ready for the house to have company, right? Making sure that when you're running errands or doing things or at work, take the stairs instead of the elevator. My rule of thumb is that if it's 4th floor or down, I'm always taking the stairs. This adds extra step, it adds extra movement. And honestly, what a humble brag it is when 4 flights of stairs does not become exhausting. If you're a big reader, you can choose to read on the treadmill instead of your bed. It's just finding the tasks that you're currently doing and finding a way to add movement into them without having to create an entire extra time to go get exercise in, right? Like, it's little things that we can just kind of like pile on to what we're already doing to get there, rather than having to think, oh my gosh, I need to make time to go on a 30-minute walk. But along with that, right, is also that mindset of where we just need to take some time to be really mindful about what's going on, practice some breathing techniques, keeping anxiety low, planning things ahead instead of waiting till last minute will make you feel a whole lot less stressed and overwhelmed. So making sure that we're getting ahead on tasks, getting ahead on things to make sure that we are not continuously adding to that stress, right? It seems overwhelming to think about it right now, but think about how much more overwhelming it is when you get to the crunch line and then you're like, oh my gosh, I have no time. I have to figure this out right now, right? So if we can just like plan errands or plan tasks ahead of time, we can really save ourselves a lot in the long run. And then we also just need to remind ourselves that the scale is probably not the friendliest of things right now. So we need to focus on some non-scale victories, right? So we can focus on the fact that you're actually spending time with your family and being present without being so worried about all of your health and fitness goals and whether you're throwing in the towel or not. You can celebrate the fact that you're actually starting to feel comfortable in your own skin around your friends and family, and that is going to bring a version of you that you yourself have been longing for and your family has also probably been longing for. But you can also celebrate the fact that you are actually pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone to achieve your health and fitness goals, and prioritizing yourself and your well-being and doing what's necessary in order to prioritize yourself, right? So kind of to wrap this all up, I want to ask you again, how do you want to feel going into the new year? Going through this holiday season, heading into the new year and starting this new chapter of your life, how are you looking to feel? Because right now is the best time for change. Holidays shouldn't be the thing that are holding you back. In fact, they should be that thing that's going to get you jump started, because it's the first time you can practice putting yourself in these uncomfortable situations to create change for yourself, which will then have a snowball effect starting in the new year, rather than you having to catch up and get to that New Year's resolution again. And if you really need a place to start, I do have a free Healthy Habits guide that you can download. I'll put the link in the show notes here for you. In 3 weeks, you can jumpstart into the new year with healthier habits that are going to be sustainable for you for the long term. Thanks for getting vulnerable with me on today's podcast, and I'll catch you next week. Thank you so much for tuning in and being vulnerable with me today. I'd love to hear from you, so make sure you come hang out with me on Instagram at KDanFit. Let me know what you thought of this episode, or leave a review here. And don't forget, I want to cover topics that you want to hear about. Let me know what topics you want me to cover, either in the comments or shoot me a message on Instagram, and I'll talk to you soon.